edition of Fox Sports.
We are Fox. We are Ohio.
Weather is perfect because the Reds return to Great American Ballpark for their final interleague series of the season. The Cleveland Indians are in town as the battle for the Ohio Cup concludes this weekend. It's the Reds and the Indians on Fox Sports Ohio. Here comes Sam, the bald eagle, right after the playing of our national anthem here at GABP. Reds and the Indians getting together for the final time in 2011. Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Jim Couch along with Chris Welsh. Welcome to Reds Baseball and Great American Ballpark and inside our Champion Windows broadcast booth. Well, Chris, these Indians and Reds get together for the second time this year, and the first time they got together, it was all Cleveland. In fact, really the first, 2.5 months of the season were all Cleveland.
Well, you're right about that. They got off to a tremendous start, the Indians did. Manny Acta saw his team, despite everybody saying things out of spring training like they would be in the cellar of the Central Division, they got out very hot. Look what they did in the month of April, 18-8. They led the Central by more than 4 games. In May, they were again over 500. But in June, they slumped a little bit. And at one time, they were 7 games ahead of the Detroit Tigers. Now they trail them by a half a game. It's getting tougher and tougher for the Indians to score runs. They've had some injuries to their lineup, especially their big left-handed hitter out in right field. Sin-Shu Chu is out for 12 weeks. They've had a hard time figuring out how to get runs on the board. And right now, if you can score a few runs, you can put this ball club away.
As I mentioned, they are a half game behind Detroit. Now, where are the Reds? Right in a 4-team battle in the National League Central Division. Here's our Honda look at the National League Central standings.
Well, the Reds really still haven't put on a streak. I mean, a streak where they won 6 or 7 games in a row. You know, since they've seen the Indians, they've not lost more than 2 games in a row. So they've kind of like treaded water. So you wonder where they're going to go. You just hope that they don't look beyond this series, you know, where they're going to St. Louis and then Milwaukee to end up the first half of the season before the All-Star break. These are 3 very important games, and I'll tell you what, Dusty Baker wants his team to extract a little payback after being swept by the Indians in Cleveland.
That's for sure. They lost all 3 games over there, but they have Bronson Arroyo, a 4-game winner on the mound in the month of June, starting this one here tonight.
Presented by authority of the Cincinnati Reds, it may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Back inside the ballpark, Great American Ballpark. I said earlier it's a beautiful night for baseball. For more specifics, let's go to Tim Hedrick from WKRC.
Warm and muggy, partly cloudy down at the ballpark tonight. Should be a nice night for the ball game, dropping down into the upper 70s. When I push this button, we'll go to Fox Slow-Mo. Enjoy the game.
Tim is always coming up with something, isn't he? How about this guy, the right-hander Bronson Arroyo, 4-1, Chris, in the month of June.
Well, he's not been in slow motion, that's for certainly not in the month of June. He hasn't, after he really struggled for a little while. Right during about the time the Reds went through Cleveland. He didn't pitch against the Indians, but he did pitch against the Philadelphia Phillies on that same trip. Got beat around, had a bad back, but ever since he came back to Cincinnati and had his back tended to, Bronson Arroyo has been right on the beam. 4-1 with a 3.6 earned run average. That even includes the game in Baltimore where he gave up 4 home runs in his last outing. He's throwing the ball over the plate, and he's got a right-handed Indian ball club. Well, so those right-handers on the Indians lineup tonight that he ought to be able to take care of, and it'll be a good night for Bronson Arroyo.
Well, because the Reds were swept in Cleveland, they need to sweep here to maintain this, the Ohio Cup. And the Reds, and here's Bronson Arroyo making start number 17.
Well, 17 starts for Bronson Arroyo, including tonight. 7-6 record. Last year at this time he had a couple of more wins under his belt. His earned run average was better, but he has always been a second half pitcher. Much better after the All-Star break than before. So let's say this is the first of Bronson Arroyo's second half starts, since now the Reds are past the halfway point, statistically anyway, in the number of games they play. This is game number 83.
Lefty Michael Brantley leading it off, then Orlando Cabrera, then Asdrubal Cabrera. Well, the numbers for this Indians club, you'd like to think, Chris, that you're getting them at a good time.
Well, the Reds did not get them at a good time when they played them earlier. The first series they had in interleague play, they were swept by the Indians. The Reds looked lethargic. They were worried about the road trip that they were going on. It was a long, tough road trip, hot, humid. They went from there to Philadelphia, then down to Atlanta, and they got beat up pretty good just about every one of those cities. But they didn't break, and they're still right back now, only 2 games off the pace in the National League Central.
Yeah, that road trip you're alluding to was the Cleveland, Philadelphia, Atlanta trip, in which they went 2-8. Lewis has this measured and a good start here in inning number 1. Let's take a look at the Indians lineup put out there by Manny Acta. That was Michael Brantley leading it off. Then the Cabreras, Orlando Anasdrubal, Carlos Santana playing first base in the cleanup spot. Grady Sizemore down to the 5-hole. Travis Buck, Lonnie Chisenhall, their number 1 prospect, now up in the big leagues. Lou Marson and the pitcher Justin Masterson will bat in the 9 spot. Interleague game played in a National League ballpark. Reds just came off a trip in which the DH was used, although really the DH really wasn't that much of an impact on the Reds. Really, I mean, they really didn't do that well. Hit under 200 in the DH spot.
Well, it depends how you look at it, I guess. If you look at it from the standpoint of the Indians, however, the DH has been big for them in interleague play in the last 3 years. When they're not able to use the DH, the Indians are 6-18 in their road games when they play these National League teams. They need the DH in there.
Roland throws out former teammate Orlando Cabrera for out number 2. Here's the Reds' defensive look, our 4 defensive look at the Reds behind Bronson Arroyo. Lewis, Stubbs, Bruce in the outfield. Roland, Renteria, Phillips, and Votto on the infield. And as always, Ryan Hannigan catches Bronson Arroyo. Two up, 2 down here in the Indians first. Here's Asdrubal Cabrera. This is the end of a long road trip for Manny Acta's ball club. They were out west, got swept in San Francisco, then went to Arizona and won 2 out of 3, including the finale out there on Wednesday, 6-2. Got into town here about the same time, I guess, as the Reds did, and then enjoyed the off day in the Queen City, and wrapping up this 3-city, 9-game road trip with this 3-game set here. Asdrubal Cabrera is having a terrific year. Starts the game at 296 with 13 homers, 47 runs batted in.
Well, he is by far the Indians' best player, with Chu on the disabled list and Grady Sizemore pretty beat up with his legs are in bad shape. You have Cabrera really the lone all-star on this ball club. He really ought to be, according to a lot of scouts and people that I've spoken to, the starting shortstop in the American League. This guy can really play. He's having a great season this year. Already 13 home runs and 47 driven in.
Arroyo's gotten off to a good start as Votto feeds Bronson, and a nice, easy 1-2-3 first for the right-hander from Florida. Fox Sports Ohio is brought to you by State Farm. State Farm agents are there when you need them. Find an agent or get a quote at statefarm.com. By your local Ford dealer, Ford, drive one. By the Regional Tourism Network, book your trip at CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline. Whenever you're feeling good and hungry, it's Skyline time. Red starting lineup put out there by Dusty Baker tonight is as follows. There's Fred Lewis again in the leadoff spot. Phillips and Votto the top three. Roland, Bruce, Stubbs the middle three. Renteria gets the first game start at short, followed by Hannigan and Arroyo. So Fred Lewis, well, he had a big hit in that game on Wednesday down in Tampa in the 7th inning. Made it a 4-2 game. Reds end up winning by a 4-3 count, and he leads it off here with a base hit into left field. And boy, he's really been swinging a good bat.
He really has. He's done a lot more than people would have thought he would do. Coming off the bench, playing sporadically, it doesn't matter for Fred Lewis. When he gets a chance to get in the lineup, he has really made his mark. A little inside-out swing right there, slashing base hit to get the Reds going.
Leading off tonight for the 4th time this year. Remember, there was so much talk in the offseason about acquiring Fred Lewis and inserting him into the leadoff spot, and Dusty Baker said, I never said he was going to be in the leadoff spot, and really hasn't been until the last, couple of weeks. Actually, it started with the Yankee series.
Well, it really happens not necessarily because the Yankees were in town or anything like that. It happened because Drew Stubbs, he was leading off most the entire season without fail and began to really slump. So Dusty Baker looks around and tries to figure out a way to take some of the pressure off of Drew Stubbs. And against right-handers, you insert Freddie Lewis. He goes to the top spot. Drew Stubbs goes down in the order, and hopefully that'll get Stubbs going again.
Brandon Phillips had his 8-game hitting streak ended on Wednesday when he went 0 for 4, but still swinging a very good bat as he stands in there. 17 for his last 40, 425 average. Lewis is going, and he will be out with a tag put on by Orlando Cabrera. That throw tailed a little bit. They got the tag on just before Lewis got in there.
I like the idea that you're going to run and push the running game as best you can. And it looks like Freddie Lewis kind of short-armed the bag as he went in there. His arms aren't completely extended. I guess they are at the very end. Maybe pulled up, but bang, bang at second base. He thought he may have gotten in there.
Lewis has been unable to come up with a stolen base this year. Now 0 for 4. Fellow that threw out, rather that had 17 last year, and you see Masterson, he's been very good at keeping base runners from stealing against him. So the hit negated by the throw out. Phillips has worked the count full. Despite the fact his hitting streak was broken, he has still hit in 13 of his last 15 games. Brandon Phillips, and is hopefully one of the fellas that everybody voted for, voting for the All-Star team. His starters wrapped up at midnight last night. Reds, of course, are pushing a guy like Phillips, who's had a very nice first half. A guy like Jay Bruce, Scott Rowland. Nice start to this homestand of 3 games for Phillips with a shot into center. Take a look at our forward defensive look at this Cleveland club. Behind their starter, Justin Masterson, Michael Brantley, Grady Sizemore, Travis Buck sitting in for Sin-Soo Choo's out. Chisenhall just up from AAA at third. Cabrera, and Santana, who's at first base due to the injury to Matt Laporta. Lou Marson catches the deliveries of Justin Masterson. So they're missing a couple of key parts and having to shift another one around because of an injury. That double play ball will end the Reds first. It goes down for 6-3. 1 complete, no score. Brought to you by Elk & Elk, serious lawyers for serious injuries. And remember, don't look past this Stride Club in getting ready for the series coming up, St. Louis and Milwaukee. Big 7-gamer will close out the unofficial first half of the season, those 7 road games. So 10 to go before the break. And as Chris mentioned earlier, the Reds have a little bit that they owe this Cleveland club. Our Elk & Elk storylines, call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. Carlos Santana will lead things off. He's one of the guys, or is the guy that we're talking about who had to shift positions. He, by and large, has been playing first base. Now that Matt Laporta is on the disabled list with a sprained right ankle, and Lou Marson doing the catching, they did not bring up another catcher, so they, in effect, every night have both catchers in the lineup. Santana at 226 with 11 home runs. Hitless in the series against the Reds in Cleveland. Three for 20, but with 5 RBIs and a home run in this, the 7th game of their 9-game road trip. Cleveland club, while they did not start in first place, there were a few days right at the beginning of the season where they were out of the top spot, took over first place on the 8th of April with a 12-3 win at Seattle, and as Chris mentioned earlier, built that lead up to 7 games on the 23rd of May. Fell out of the top spot on the 26th of June last week when they lost at San Francisco by a game, and we mentioned start today a half game behind Detroit.
And don't you know that there were a lot of people that said, hey, we told you so. There's no way that this Indians team is going to be able to play the way they started. But it's a good thing they got off to the start that they did, or else they'd be buried right now with the way that they have played since the Reds saw them in the first start of interleague play.
Well, there aren't many teams, though, are there, Chris, that just have the fantastic month after month after month for the entire regular season? They're going to be downers.
Well, that's the whole idea, you know, is to try to make your season somewhat consistent. I remember a minor league manager once, Joe Altobelli, who at one time was the Major League Manager of the Year when he managed way back the San Francisco Giants, said every team you should goal to be 5 games over 500 for each month. And then at the end of the year, you look and you're going to be in first place, probably running away with the division, but it's never that easy.
The Reds have been unable to accomplish that this year, and the Indians did just 1 month, the first month when they were 18-8. They did go 14-12 in May, but ended June at 10-17. Reds for their mark, 14-13 first month, 14-15 in May, 14-12 in the month just completed, thanks to that victory on Wednesday, 4-3 at Tampa. Line, but caught by Roland.
Pretty nice swing that Carlos Santana puts on the ball. He has struggled offensively, but he puts a real good swing on a pitch going away from him, and Scott Rowland's been playing there for a long time and is able to snag it.
Here's Grady Sizemore. Yes, he is back in their lineup this year, although he wasn't in there until the 17th of April, then had a little stint of about 3 weeks on the disabled list when he had a deep right knee bruise that occurred in a slide in early May. Back in there now, but not having the kind of year that they are anticipating that Grady Sizemore will ultimately have. He's at 226 with 7 homers and 20 batted in.
Well, for Grady, you know, his game has always been a combination of speed and power, and right now there's no speed. He had a microfracture in his left knee, and he's still within enough range of that he hasn't recovered completely. He's had some other leg injuries that have slowed him down, and people that tell me that have seen this team play every day say that he is nowhere near the player that he was when people are talking about him as being one of the best players in the American League.
He has 3 career home runs against Arroyo, and has he made it 4? Indeed he has. A home run for Grady Sizemore, his 8th of the year, 4th career against that man, Bronson Arroyo. The Tribe jump in front.
Well, that really hurts you. And I'll tell you why. Because he hits an 0-2 pitch. An 0-2 fastball that is right there. Now, keep in mind that tonight it does not look like Bronson Arroyo's got a very crisp fastball. I mean, 0-2. Let me just go ahead and lay it down the middle there, Grady, and see what you can do with it. And he may not be running well, but he jogs pretty good.
So the Indians get the long ball. Jump in front 1-0. That's the 21st. Check that, the 22nd home run given up by Arroyo this year. That now ties him with Brett Myers of the Astros for the most home runs given up in the National League.
But as long as they're solo shots, you don't sweat them too much. I mean, Arroyo has really come to the fact that he understands now, after pitching in this ballpark for a long time, that you're going to give up your share of home runs. But what you don't want to do is give up 0-2 home runs on a pitch right down the middle. Remember in the last game that Arroyo pitched, he gave up 4 of them in Baltimore. Of course, the Reds slugged 5 in a game that saw 9 home runs total over there at Camden Yard.
Buck hits it hard up the middle, and that's a base hit. Right now on FoxSportsOhio.com, chat with our Hall of Fame baseball writer Hal McCoy and read his article about Hall of Famer Harmon Killebrew. It's only on FoxSportsOhio.com, presented by 1-800-SAFE-AUTO and SafeAuto.com. And fans, check out our new show, Boys in the Hall, featuring Harmon Killebrew this Sunday after the Reds game right here on Fox Sports Ohio. Travis Buck singled to center. He had a big home run against the Reds back in Cleveland. His 2-run shot in the bottom of the 7th against Homer Bailey won the middle game of that series over there back on the 21st of May, 2-1. Three hard hit balls in this inning. The line out to third, the home run, and now the single by Buck. Here's their #1 prospect in the Indians organization, just recently brought up, Lonnie Chisenhall. We saw him some in spring training. Chisenhall was doing pretty well down at AAA Columbus, hitting .265 with 7 homers and 44 runs batted in, which was 4th best in the International League. Here he's played 2 games and gone 3 out of 8. Jack Hanahan has been the guy that's been playing third base for this Cleveland club this year, but with a .215 average, they decided to take a shot with this guy. Chisenhall, still only 21 years old.
Yeah, they really feel he's the real deal. Right-handed thrower, left-handed hitter. He's got some power. Hit 7 home runs while he was down there in Columbus.
Lewis handles this for the second out. Batter is Lou Marson, their catcher. Take a look back at that 3-game series in mid to late May over in Cleveland. Tribe won 5-4 on Friday night on a base hit by Everett Carrera that drove in Sin-Soo Choo to win 5-4. Then that 2-run homer in the bottom of the 7th by Travis Buck won the middle game of the series. Excellent pitching on both sides. Josh Tomlin won it. Homer Bailey suffered the loss. Then maybe their best pitcher this year, Carlos Carrasco, was the winner on Sunday when the Indians jumped all over Edinson Volquez for 7 runs in 2 2/3 and won that game going away 12-4. And that was really right there at the time when they decided, you know what, it's time for Volquez maybe to go down to Louisville and get himself straightened out.
Got a little wake-up call. It seemed like it was worthwhile.
We talked a lot about that in that game Wednesday down in Tampa Bay. We looked at the first 2 since his return, very good. The next 2 not so good, but I don't know. I'd give him a pretty good grade for that game on Wednesday.
Well, outstanding. I think it was the best game that Edinson Volquez has pitched so far. He kept the ball down. He didn't seem like he was overthrowing. He was using all of his pitches. And, you know, now some of that was due to the fact that the Tampa Bay Rays simply aren't very good with hitting when they're at home. But you still have to throw the ball over the plate. It was a tight ball game, and I think it's certainly something to build on for Edinson Volquez. I think he sees the rest of the pitching staff getting better and making space between himself and them. He didn't want to be left back at the station. Like to get Marson right here and make the pitcher Masterson lead the inning off next.
That's indeed what happens. A strikeout of Marson, the first of the game for Arroyo, but the Indians jump in front on the Sizemore homer. Before every game with the Emmy Award-winning Reds Live here on Fox Sports Ohio. Tune in every day to see the latest version of Tech Talk with Chris Welsh as players and coaches from the Reds break down the finer points of this game. That's Reds Live, presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Back to the mound goes Justin Masterson of the Indians. Let's take a look at our Farmers Insurance report card on this right-hander, Justin Masterson.
Well, Masterson is in 16 starts this year. He has allowed 2.5 runs per game. That's a great earned run average, right around 2.9. But his run support is dismal, and that is really giving it probably more credit than it deserves. They've only given him 2 runs a game in support, and thereby he has an under 500 record, 5 wins against 6 losses for Masterson, and one of the better earned run averages in the American League. This kid is flying under the radar as one of the better pitchers, right-handed pitchers that you will find around. Had a rough year last year. Overall, 13 games under 500 in his career, but he's got a lot of bright pitching days ahead of him.
His season has been unbelievable when you take a look at it. He came out of the chute hot, won his first 5 starts, wrapping up number 5 on April the 26th. Since then, he's made 11 starts with 0 wins. 6 losses and 5 no decisions. That last 8 starts he has made, his club has been shut out in 4 of them. So he's been a long time between victories as the Reds get off to a good start themselves with a hit by Roland here in the bottom of 2.
Yeah, the Reds now have 3 hits of the first 4 batters that they have sent up to the plate. One erased by a stolen base, one erased by a ground ball double play, and Jay Bruce will try to get something going here.
Rolen's hit now the 1,997th of his career, only 3 away from hitting the 2,000 mark. What has been a very good career for Scott Rolen. Brandon Phillips, he had that base hit in the first. He's now 2 away from 1,000. Big swing by Jay, but he pops it up, and as Drupal Cabrera handles it. Here's Drew Stubbs in the 6th spot tonight. We saw him in the 8-hole in that Tampa Bay series. 6 hits, 26 at bats, including a home run on the road trip. That home run came on Saturday in Baltimore. Stubbs a little under what he had been hitting the first 2 months of the season in June. He hit 257 the first month, 258 May, 248 in June.
Well, Masterson is a tough assignment for right-handed hitters. You can tell you that. You can see his low 3/4 arm delivery, a lot of movement on his fastball, and these stats bear it out. I mean, you can see that he really holds right-handers down. If you've got a right-handed lineup, you're going to have a tough time against them.
He chases that, and on 3 pitches, Drew Stubbs is out number 2.
That puts a nice breaking ball on him right here, and Drew just really is not committed to getting out there and really seeing that pitch. Never really was a strike, and Stubbs will kind of flail at it and go down swinging. Got to get him out of that funk.
A runner on with 2 out for Edgar Renteria. Gets the Game 1 start in this series. We'll be with you here on Fox Sports Ohio for tonight's game and Sunday's game. Tomorrow is a Fox regional game. Tom Brenneman and Mark Grace will bring you the call of that game. And in fact, in the top of the 3rd, we're going to visit with Mark Grace. Here taking in Reds action tonight. Renteria 2 out of 5 with an RBI on the recent road trip. He had a big hit down there in Tampa against David Price. Well, that didn't miss by much. Both those pitches at 1-2 and at 2-2. Masterson trying to clip that outside corner. The ball held there by Lou Marson, but both calls go against the Indians, according to John Tumpain, the home plate umpire. Now Rolen will be moving, and there he goes, and swinging at ball 4. Renteria strikes out, and the Reds leave a base runner here in the 2nd. play continues as Ohio rivals go head-to-head with bragging rights on the line as Drupal Cabrera and the Indians battle Joey Votto and the Reds. This week's telecast of Fox Saturday Baseball begins at 4 p.m. Eastern. And don't forget that the MLB All-Star Game is live from Phoenix coming up Tuesday, July the 12th at 8 Eastern and only on Fox. 1-0 Indians through the first 2 innings of this game. We go to the top of the third, and very pleased to have Mark Grace, who'll be here tomorrow, calling the game with Tom Brenneman.
What's up, Grace?
With us in the booth. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
So far, so good, but it's only the third.
That's a good point. And if you're playing the Cleveland Indians, because I just had these guys for 3 straight, if you're playing the Cleveland Indians and they have the lead after 6 innings, it's tough sledding. This is one of the best bullpens I have ever seen. And it's a lot of guys that a lot of people, unless you're really into baseball, you don't know who they are.
Well, they're missing, unfortunately, in this particular series for the Indians, they're missing Chris Perez, who is away on a personal leave. His grandmother passed away down in Florida, and he's back down there to deal with some things with the family and be with his family. But they still have a pretty good bullpen, the way they set it up. Very interesting. But the Reds, well, they were behind. Is he going to get his first base hit here? You know, I was talking to Masterson before the ball game, and you know he's from nearby Dayton, Ohio, Beaver Creek, Ohio, and he grew up there. He knows a lot of people. He left about a dozen tickets or so, but he wanted to talk about his hitting.
That's all pitchers want to do is hit.
They do.
You know
and he said, you know, first time up, I hit a line drive in San Francisco. And then after that, they're throwing me sliders.
Well, welcome to Major League Baseball. What do you expect him to do? Here, go ahead and hit it. Uh-oh. How about that, Walsh? You just willed him to get that first base hit.
I think that was a breaking ball, too.
It sure was. A sidearm breaking ball. And he acted like he knew what he was doing on that one, fellas.
He hung right in there, didn't he?
I mean,
down there studying tapes of Bronson Roy. Man. Talking about a backup curveball. I haven't seen too many of those this year.
Yeah, that one just stayed right there to whack. Even pitchers are going to whack that one pretty hard. That was a mistake there from Arroyo. But how's your club? Your club looks good again. Dusty's got him playing again.
Well, he's got them feeling good. You know, even though they haven't put on a real good run yet where they've won 4 or 5 or 6 in a row, right. They haven't lost more than 2 in a row for quite a long time. And he's got them feeling good about themselves, even despite the fact that, you know, they get beat in games where they think they should win. It seems like when you compare this year to last year that they're losing some of the games that last year they won.
Right.
You can't be magical every year. But he is one of the most upbeat guys you'll ever be around. Well, you know that.
The one thing the Reds, just about any team that plays the Cincinnati Reds, the Reds are going to have the best athletes on the field. This is an athletic bunch. That's what impresses me the most about them.
Well, they have had no problems really scoring runs. They're first in the National League, 3rd overall in baseball, only behind the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox. So they put runs up on the board, but they put them up in bunches.
Right.
So you can't always choose you're going to put up 4.5 or 5 runs a game. Some days it's 10, next day it's none.
Votto makes a risky play at second, but they get the out, according to Ron Culpo, the second base umpire. Boy, that was a throw that is not right on the money, and that's going to be a safe call at second.
Well, I think Justin Masterson assumed when he saw this ball hop up high right there that there wasn't going to be a play on him. Could have been a good decoy at the other end by the shortstop Edgar Renteria, but he ends up taking the ball kind of like a first baseman, and without the slide right there, you almost get rung up on general principle.
Exactly. That as a former first baseman, that was a really risky play there by Joey Votto. If he's a fraction of an inch quicker to the bag, now the Indians are looking at a possible big inning, but instead he gets the lead runner, and it looks like Arroyo's in better shape now.
Mark, the game here tomorrow, the game that you and Tom will call, will feature Homer Bailey against Fausto Carmona. Carmona, a guy that they have been counting on for years to get back the way he was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he's got great stuff. He's got the electric movement. He's got the good fastball, the terrific slider as well. And right now, I never thought I would say Fausto Carmona, maybe the 5th guy in the rotation, but the rest of this Indian pitching staff is just pitching so well that, yeah, I saw a kid out here Carrasco a couple of nights ago. Man, that was some of the best stuff I've seen in the big leagues this year.
Yeah, he's really been hot for them.
Oh my goodness, it was electric. 5 starts now. In his last 5 starts, he's given up 4 earned runs. total.
Interesting thing about Fausto Carmona, though, that if the Indians become sellers at the trading deadline, he might be one guy that other teams would come calling on. Kind of having a bad year, but still has good stuff. I know last year that there were some teams that were pursuing him. The Indians didn't want to trade him. They thought that they were going to keep him and kind of build their staff around him. But now that he's off to a tough start, 4-10 on the year, you wonder if maybe the Indians will cut him loose in exchange for somebody good.
And he's one of those guys that's so intriguing that gosh, his stuff is so good. Maybe he just needs a change of scenery, and maybe it's our ball club that is the scenery that he needs, and he might carry you and win 5 or 6 ball games down the stretch for you and make a big difference.
Homer Bailey on the other side of things, Mark, and people always say about Homer, I'd like to see him go a whole season and see what he can do, but boy, injuries has just interrupted every season for him.
It's just such a shame because he's so talented and he's still young enough to put together a terrific career. You just wonder when a guy is at his age and having such injury problems at a young age, well, you feel like it probably has to continue as you get older and older and as you throw more pitches over the course of your career. But boy, if they can just find a way to get that big body of his healthy, man, he's fun to watch pitch when he's right.
He's really made a major step forward in as much as he's kind of found a cruising speed where he pitches at 92, 93, and then when he needs something, he reaches back for it instead of trying to go full throttle the entire game.
Renteria gets to that ball, and a big stretch by Phillips, looking like a first baseman. They get the force out.
It's a really nice play by the veteran Renteria to the other veteran Phillips. Makes us old guys feel good to see the old guys that we played against down there still down there doing it.
Speak for yourself. All the guys I played for now are in the coaching boxes, or they're up here in the suites, watching the game from up around the general manager's box.
And they weigh about 100 pounds more than they did when they played, right?
That's right.
Luckily, you don't.
Oh, man. I'm at peak fatness right now. It's great.
Well, here's Asdrubal Cabrera with 2 men out. This guy has been all-star caliber in the first half, hasn't he?
If you ask me, he should be starting the all-star game. I think a lot of people say, of course, Derek Jeter's going to get the vote, but this kid is, in my opinion, the best shortstop in the American League. And the offensive numbers are impressive. I love watching him play defense. He is a terrific defensive shortstop. He's a difference maker on both ends of the ball.
He's had some of the best highlights of this season with those bare-hand picks deep in the hole. It's been impressive.
And he also makes the routine play.
Right.
I think that's what your manager wants even more so than the spectacular stuff.
Arroyo trying to get through the top of the third. A home run in the second inning by Grady Sizemore has given the Tribe a 1-0 lead.
Mark, I got to ask you real quick. Watch Joey Votto, the way he covers first base. I see more and more first basemen now off the bag, not like they used to where you had 1 foot on the bag. What's the purpose of coming in front of the bag when you cover first base with a runner on? See where he is like there?
That makes no sense to me, because especially as a right-handed first baseman, that's a long way to have to catch the ball and apply the tag.
I see other guys do it. Albert Pujols does kind of the same thing, though.
And I was a left-handed, so my right foot was right against the bag and because my glove was on my right hand, I mean, it was just easy to put the tag down as a left-handed first baseman. I don't know who taught that or why they teach it, but if you see, especially if it's going to be a close play at first base, if you catch a guy leaning something like that, now Joey has to catch the ball about 5 feet from where he has to apply the tag, and that might be enough of the difference to make the base runner safe back into first base. But I'm not going to argue with Joey. I mean, he's doing something right.
Or Albert.
Good point.
But yeah, find that out.
I might go ask Joey about that tomorrow when I see him. A lot of guys just might be more comfortable squared up to the pitcher with their body squared up like that.
That's going to add to the Indians' lead. Asdrubal Cabrera, 14 of them now this year, and a 3-0 advantage, Indians.
Where you say all the superlatives, and then he makes you look good by hitting a hanging changeup halfway up the right field bleachers.
Well, you call that a changeup, but at 86 miles an hour, I'm wondering if that just wasn't a fastball that Bronson Arroyo, who doesn't have much on it tonight, trying to go upstairs. Yeah, he's trying to go north and south right there.
He tried to go up and in.
And he just got it down around the letters.
That ball went a long, long ways.
2 home runs in this game, and an earlier start tomorrow, 4:10. It's going to be a hot and humid day tomorrow. You can expect the ball to be flying out of here.
I would imagine so. It's when the weather warms up, this always turns into one of the better offensive ballparks. What's going on here, boys?
Santana looking to add to it. Bouncing that one into the bullpen area. Back-to-back shots. 3 in this game. 24 now on the year given up by Arroyo.
Bronson really struggled through his last start. That was over in Baltimore, where he gave up 4 home runs to the Orioles. And it was a game in which he really wasn't hitting his spots. He said after the game, hey, I was just fortunate to be able to gut it out. My team scored more runs than they did. But tonight it doesn't look like he's finishing his pitches. It looks like, I don't know whether his back's bothering him or not, but in order to get that breaking ball to work, even if you are a sidearm thrower, you've got to bend your back at the very end. And he's just kind of rolling it up there, and then when you do that, that ball's going to come up there like a cement mixer, and you're going to give up some long balls, especially in this yard. He now leads the league in that category by 2. 24 bombs already. We're not even to the halfway point.
That's a lot.
Here's Grady Sizemore, who homered in the 2nd inning.
I can promise you this, guys. After Sandberg and Dawson hit back-to-back home runs, and I got in the box, I was getting it right in the ribs this pitch.
Well, you know, they changed the game a little bit since then, haven't they?
Yes, they did. I would have been, yeah, nice going, high-five him at the plate, and then like, oh, no.
Yeah, and look at Sizemore in the first 2 pitches. His chin is moving over the strike zone.
Yeah, Rick Sutcliffe or somebody like that wouldn't have been too happy on the mound. Mario Soto, somebody like that, you would have probably got one right in your rib cage. Although Mario didn't give up too many back-to-back home runs, did he?
That's because the guy after the first home run was thinking he was getting it in the ribs.
That's exactly right.
Why wait for 2?
There's a look at Mark Grace, Hall of Famer in 09, 16 big league seasons. I first ran into you, remember, back in your minor league days in Peoria, Illinois, with Pete Van Auken.
That's back when I had some talent.
Your manager back then, I think, was Pete McCannon.
Pete McCannon, sure. He did some good things here for a little while.
He
a couple
sure
years
did.
ago, yeah. The Reds played really well under Pete McCannon there, under the interim basis.
Yeah, he was been an interim manager twice.
Exactly.
Said that he was going to go to the winter meetings and put up a booth, interim manager booth, in case anybody needed one. Thought that was a great idea.
Well, he's way too young to be hired as a manager these days. I mean, they're hiring 80-year-olds down in Florida, 68-year-olds now
In Washington. Well, Arroyo gets the strikeout. Inning comes to an end. Mark, good to see you again.
Thanks for having me.
Have a good afternoon
Finish
here
strong
tomorrow.
here tonight.
Gracie, good seeing you,
I'll look
buddy.
forward to seeing you guys tomorrow.
Reds trying to get back in this one. Down 4-0.
Say hey to Brenneman. We never see him anymore.
He's got the best job in baseball.
You know, these games just shows how important this interleague has been on everybody. You know, especially everybody in our league, a lot of teams in our division. I don't think anybody's fared really good against them. But hey, we got 3 games to go, and the way I look at it, I mean, these are the guys that started us on our downhill bad streak there earlier. So I mean, we can close the same way that they opened against us.
As our Geico quote of the night, Dusty Baker talking about interleague play. He's been asked a number of times, is he ready to quit playing interleague play? He was asked that down in Tampa. He said, no, we have some work to do still, and they did win that game, and now 3 games here against the Tribe. He said, I'll be ready to abandon interleague play come Sunday night. Reds are 5-10 in interleague play, finished above 500 against the AL a year ago, but will not finish at or above this year. That one going to sneak through. Cabrera. They got him at first. Orlando Cabrera ranging to his left, throws out Hannigan.
Orlando Cabrera has played for the Indians all around the infield. Of course, he's not going to play shortstop, not with Asdrubal Cabrera over there, but he's played second base, he's played third, and he makes a nice play going to his right to rob a base hit away from Ryan Hannigan. Good pick at the other end there by Santana.
Here's Bronson Arroyo, does have 6 hits this year. Indians came into this game with 16 less home runs than the Reds, and they have hit 3 in this game in support of Justin Masterson. He hasn't gotten a whole lot of run support this year, but he certainly is in a good position so far tonight.
He looks up on the board and sees 4 runs and probably wants to do backflips. But when you get shut out 4 times in 1 year, you know for a fact that you're pitching on the wrong day.
It's hard to fathom that he's gone, as good as his stuff is, Chris. 11 consecutive starts without a W.
Well, you know, wins are the one thing that pitchers really can't control. You can control the number of runs you give up, the number of hits, how many walks you have, things like that. But if your team doesn't score, or if your team doesn't play good defense, there's really not a whole lot that you can do about it. And in his case, it's all about not being able to have any runs scored on his behalf.
You almost think you just fall into a win here and there, though, wouldn't you?
Well, you do, but what you have to try to do if you're playing for a team that's not scoring you any runs is you don't look at it as a big picture. You don't say, oh, here we go again. If you give up 1 run or 2 runs, you feel like you're going to get blown away in the ball game. He just goes out, and he's a very even-keeled kid. Had a nice conversation with him before the game. Some pitchers don't even want to look at you, you know, on their game day, but he had his game face on, but it really wasn't a scowl, so I went over to say hey to him and talked to him a little bit about growing up in Dayton and Beaver Creek. Kind of a Dayton kind of a night tonight.
And he was, yeah, we're going to have folks from the Dayton Dragons on in the 5th inning. Bob Murphy's their president. They're on the cusp of setting an all-time record for consecutive sellouts. I believe they're going to do it next week. We'll get all the details for sure, but they have gotten right to the brink of breaking the all-time consecutive sellout mark in professional sports. But more on that in the 5th inning. You're talking about Masterson and looking up at the scoreboard and seeing 4 runs and always pitching on edge because of no support. You were saying a lot of those same things about those guys down in Tampa.
Yeah, and they began to look like that too. You could almost see it on the face of a couple of the starters. David Price, when he gave up a couple of runs and his team was down 2-1, thinking, uh-oh, that's it. We're not going to be able to come off the mat and tie this one up or get the win. James Shields, I'm sure, felt the same way when Ryan Hannigan hit that 3-run homer off of him. It can get into your head. There's no question about that. But Masterson, you know, he was quite a coup in getting Masterson. He came over from the Red Sox. That was at the trade deadline in 2009. They came over when Victor Martinez, the all-star catcher, went over to the Boston Red Sox. They got a good arm with a lot of movement on it when they got him.
There was an interesting name in that trade. Victor Martinez certainly was the big name, but coming over to Cleveland as well was a young left-handed pitcher named Brian Price. Spelling his name exactly the same way as Brian Price, the Reds pitching coach does. He's 24 years old now, so he was, 21 or so when that trade was consummated. He's in their AA team at Akron now. But how about that? Brian Price also involved in the deal that brought Masterson from Boston over here to Cleveland. Justin Masterson, the first ever Jamaican-born pitcher to pitch in the big leagues, born in Kingston, Jamaica. Fourth player joining Chili Davis, Devon White, and Rolando Rooms at big league time.
Well, Justin was born over there when his father, Mark Masterson, was an exchange student at a theological seminary in Kingston. And he moved to Beaver Creek when he took a job as a pastor at the Creekside Community Church. And that's where Justin grew up and went to high school, played baseball up there for a couple of years, and ended up concentrating more on baseball.
Orlando Cabrera makes the play, and Lewis, who had a hit his first time, retired this time. That's now 6 in a row by Masterson. On Fox Sports Ohio is brought to you by JTM Food Group, proudly serving America's restaurants, schools, retailers, and our military around the world. JTM Food Group. By your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers, where you can register to win the Tundra here at Great American Ballpark. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by Blue Rhino. Ready to grill? Grab a Rhino. Visit BlueRhino.com for a propane tank near you. Enter the middle innings of this game. 4-0 in favor of the Tribe as Bronson Arroyo goes back to work. Chris, we tried to get him going, talking about Mark Grace, by putting up that Hall of Fame slate up there, saying he was inducted in '09, but I don't think he recognized it.
No, I don't think he was able to see the monitor to pick it up, but he was not actually inducted yet into the Hall of Fame, although he did garner about 4% of the vote. So we just get more of our baseball writers of America friends to vote for Grace. He'll have a chance to someday get in. So maybe there was just a premonition.
Well, you put that up there as a joke to kind of get him going, and he didn't even recognize it. No, not you. I'm saying it was put up there as a joke to get him going, and he didn't bite. But no, he's not in the Hall of Fame.
Is it too late to laugh now?
For him it is. He's gone. Travis Buck to get things going here in the fourth. Single his first time. Well, Arroyo's won 3 in a row in 4 of his last 5 starts, but his mates will have to come from behind to get the first game of this series tonight. Indians already up 4-0. The Reds have given up now 93 home runs this year. They started this game second only to Houston in the National League in home runs given up. Stubbs takes the care of that. Will bring Lonnie Chisenhall to the plate.
Hey, Reds fans, if you're in the restaurant industry, let JTM Food Group help you with great tasting products for your menu. Inspired solutions, better results, JTM.
Chisenhall, the #1 pick by the Tribe back in 2008. Only in his 4th year of professional baseball. His first this year at AAA. Last year at AA Akron, he had 17 homers and 84 runs batted in. As I mentioned earlier, we did see him a decent amount in spring training this year. From Morehead City, North Carolina. 44 runs batted in, 4th in the International League upon his call up, 5 days ago.
Well, they really feel he's going to be a super player. Obviously, they felt that when they picked him out of a community college in North Carolina to be their #1 draft pick in 2008. He was originally at the University of South Carolina. Of course, the Gamecocks, having now just won their back national championships out in Omaha. And he ran into some problems at South Carolina. They kicked him off the team, and that's when he went to a junior college and became eligible for the draft, and the Indians drafted him in the 1st round.
He flied to left his first time. Major League debut came this past Monday. Chisenhall. That was at Arizona. He went 2 for 4 with a run batted in. His first hit, RBI single against Ian Kennedy. Long run, and Fred Lewis gets there. Renteria went a long way out. Lewis a long way in, and Fred handles it.
Well, Lewis has very good speed. I mean, the Reds right now with a very athletic outfield when you've got Lewis in left and Stubbs in center and Jay Bruce over in right. Freddie just outruns the baseball, and it looks like another easy inning here for Bronson Arroyo. Had 1 in the 1st, looking for 1 in the 4th. He has given up a run in the 2nd and 2 runs in the 3rd. Looks like one of these nights that Arroyo really doesn't have much. I mean, he's kind of flipping his fastball up there. He really has to concentrate on spotting the ball.
Phillips makes that play, and Arroyo has his second 1-2-3 inning of this game. Toyota sign during tonight's game. Marla Duvall of Loveland, Ohio, who currently owns an '07 Sequoia, will win this beautiful new Tundra that's on display here at Great American Ballpark. Register for your chance to win at an upcoming game by seeing your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. In the bottom of the fourth, let's take a look at our AT&T trivia question for this Friday night, the first day of July. What three players have been named Ohio Cup MVP? What three players have been named Ohio Cup MVP? Talked earlier about the fact the Reds need to sweep this series to keep the cup in the Queen City. Once you are the holder of the cup, as long as you split the 6 games, you get to maintain the hold on it. Indians won that series over in May in Cleveland. Marked the end of 7 straight series the Reds have won against the Tribe. Well, they get on the board here with a second deck shot by Brandon Phillips. Way up there for Brandon. Number 7, and it's 4-1.
Well, Brandon Phillips has gotten hot, and he has stayed hot. He's always been an excellent low ball hitter. This ball on the inner part of the plate, he waits back, he's able to drop his hands inside and drop that bat head. Looked like it hit off the facade of the second deck.
Only the 4th home run ball given up by Masterson this year, and the first he has given up to a right-handed hitter. Otto against the shift, and his former teammate will throw him out, Orlando Cabrera, for the first out. Brandon Phillips hit that home run in the wrap-up of the series at Baltimore, marking his first home run since the 14th of May, and now here he comes after hitting that one in Baltimore on the 26th. 4 days later, getting one here against the Indians. Talking about interleague play, this is the final weekend, of course, and the American League does hold an edge, although it's very slight, probably closer than folks would think. Going into today's game, 107 to 103 in terms of games in favor of the American League. Reds, we mentioned, are 5-10. Dusty was talking about he doesn't think many National League teams have done that well. The best in terms of wins is Arizona at 9-6. The Giants and Atlanta are 8-4, the best winning percentage. So there aren't many teams in the National League that have fared at or above 500 against the AL counterparts. Bruce with 2 out, bases clear. Breaking back first is Sizemore, but he will get there. And after the home run by Phillips, the Reds go in order. But they're on the board with 1 through 4. The All-Star Game history are going head-to-head to determine which is the most memorable of all time. Go to MLB.com/moments and vote now for your favorite midsummer classics. And tune in to the 2011 MLB All-Star Game coming up on Tuesday, July the 12th at 8 p.m. Eastern right here on Fox to find out who won. That game now less than 2 weeks away. The All-Star Game at Chase Field in Phoenix, Arizona. Arroyo works in the 5th. Masterson had his first hit of his career back in the 3rd. Tipped off the glove. He may end up with another. Phillips helps out. That'll go as a 1-4-3 put out.
Boy, how nice is it to have Brandon Phillips in your infield? I mean, a ball goes back up the middle. Now you're looking at a Gold Glove pitcher in Bronson Arroyo. Won the Gold Glove game, or won it last year. Just tips this one. A lot of times that ball is going to go for a base hit because your second baseman's not going to be quick enough to get to it. But barehanding it, and look how he keeps his eye on his hand when he goes down there to barehand it. Throws off his right leg, which is the way you do that play. And our Performance Honda Exmo gives you a pretty good look at a Gold Glove caliber play by Brandon Phillips.
Another play that we look at and you say, you know what? He makes that look so easy, but boy, that's difficult.
I go down and try that. Well, maybe you should, Jim, but if you're young at home and agile, limber, give it a shot.
I'm not young, I'm not at home, I'm not agile, I'm not limber. Other than that, I'm in good shape.
Yeah, you called it well.
Papa John's, better ingredients, better pizza. Order online at papajohns.com today. Brantley gets the 6th hit of this game for the Indians. He's now 1 out of 3. Boy, it's not been a good road trip for him at all. Only his 5th hit and now 25 at bats.
Well, it's a battling kind of a night for Bronson Arroyo. I mean, there's not a whole lot of difference in speed between his fastball and his changeup tonight. His fastball, he's running up there 85, 86 miles an hour, and he knows there's a drop off. But he's the kind of pitcher that's going to battle and battle. Try to make a good location. Try to let those hitters just have a good opportunity to get themselves out.
Orlando Cabrera, of course, the everyday shortstop for the most part for the Reds last year. Wanted to play again every day this year, and that opportunity wasn't going to present itself in Cincinnati. He went further north in the state where it has presented itself. Now he gets another hit.
Looks like he gets this in on the hands a little bit. That's another curveball that just simply isn't snapping at all. It's just kind of rolling right on up there. And I'm wondering if maybe Bronson Arroyo's back isn't bugging him a little bit. I mean, because unless you really can follow through and bend your back at the end of every delivery, especially those on a curveball, you're not going to get that baby to break. It's just going to hang right up there. And that's what we've seen so many of his breaking balls do today. Talked to Orlando Cabrera a little bit before the ball game tonight. I said, all right, what's the real scoop? Didn't the Reds want you back? He said, oh, no, they want me back. They made me an offer. But I was greedy. Greedy in 2 ways. One, he wanted the money. And number 2, he wanted to play every day. And he, just like you said, Jim Kelce, was not really willing to resign himself to the fact that he was not an everyday player. And he had a better shot, he thought, of being an everyday player here in Cleveland than he did in Cincinnati. There was only one spot for him in Cincinnati. He looked around in Cleveland. He knew that he could look around the infield and say, well, maybe I could play here, I could play there, I could maybe play second base, play third base a little bit. But in Cincinnati, that would not have been the case.
And some guys aren't willing to switch positions. He was.
Well, you're exactly right. And I was really kind of stunned, actually, when we heard, and it was, I guess, not until the beginning of the season, that we heard that Edgar Renteria had told Dusty Baker that he simply was not comfortable playing third base. And we all had assumed when he was signed to a contract with the Reds that he would be, you know, on and off with Paul Janisch at shortstop, but also filling in for Scott Rowland at third base from time to time. That has not happened.
Reds looking for the double play ball to get through this inning. He's shooting balls all over the place here tonight.
Yeah, right now you can sense the fact that Arroyo knows it just the same way that Asdrubal Cabrera knows it, that he does not have in his repertoire tonight the pitch that's going to get Cabrera out. He simply has to give Cabrera the best opportunity to get himself out. They see it in the Reds dugout. They're going to make a call down the bullpen to get somebody up and rolling right now. I'm sure Jorge Lopez on the other end of that call has gotten him shaking it.
Bruce will handle this for the second out. Action in the Reds bullpen is the right-hander Sam LeCure. Maybe we want to throw out congratulations. The Louisville team, like the big league team, will be going into the All-Star break coming up a week from this coming Sunday, and they have 4 players that have been named to the International League All-Star team. So we want to congratulate those folks. Jeremy Hermida, who has some time up here this year, is going. Zach Cozart is a fellow that a lot of people have been clamoring for up here, has gotten the call as well, and he'll be going to that game. Yonder Alonso is the third one, and then Devin Mesoraco. So 4 players are going from that Louisville team to the IL All-Star game in Salt Lake City. We want to congratulate them.
And 3 of the 4 players are homegrown products in the Reds organization. Nice to see guys drafted come up through the organization, reach the top of the minor leagues, and reach the top of their minor league pinnacle, kind of preparing them for the big leagues.
Carlos Santana, booming home run his last time into the bullpen out in right, and he lined to third his first time. So with 2 on and 2 out, another RBI opportunity for their 26-year-old catcher playing first base.
Hey, one thing, these Indians can really bring some left-handers at you. A couple of switch hitters in the middle of the lineup with Cabrera and then Santana. Sizemore after him. We've seen Chisenhall.
They have 4 lefties and 2 switch hitters in their lineup tonight.
And of course, they'll do that on purpose against Bronson Arroyo. Traditionally, Arroyo has problems, more so anyway, with left-handers than he does right-handers, given the fact that he normally is able to neutralize right-handers with that sidearm breaking ball and sidearm fastball. pretty good pitch on a 3-1 count there. A little backdoor curveball, but everybody's looking for a fastball on that 3-1 pitch. Santana looking for another one that he can launch out of here.
In the hole is going to mean another Indians run. Santana goes the other way, picking up his 34th run batted in as Brantley on the move on contact with 2 out, scores from second.
Really smart hitting right there by Carlos Santana. He had to feel in this at bat that Arroyo was not going to give him something to pull, at least not on that 3-2 count. So he keeps his hands inside. He shoots that ball the other way, picks up a base hit. No way Fred Lewis, even if he fields that ball cleanly, it comes up throwing, you're not going to get him at the plate.
This Cleveland team we mentioned earlier chasing the Tigers. They trail them by a half game. The Tigers are at home tonight against San Francisco. Madison Bumgarner pitching in that game against them. Of course, the team's ahead of the Reds. And Pittsburgh started just a percentage point ahead, winning percentage of .513 versus .512. Pittsburgh is at Washington tonight. Cardinals are at Tampa Bay. Another hit by the Indians. Going to mean another run. Orlando Cabrera scores. That'll be a double for Grady Sizemore, who has a pair of extra base hits, pair of runs batted in, and it's now 6-1.
Now they're going to call down the bullpen to find out if Sam LeCure is ready, and he better be, because here comes Dusty Baker out to the mound, and very likely that Arroyo will hit the shower early tonight.
So it just didn't work tonight for Bronson Arroyo, despite a 1-2-3 first inning when he looked pretty sharp, but he's given up 6. And there's an opportunity for more for this Cleveland club, but it will not come against Bronson Arroyo, who will leave after 4 2/3 tonight. So our skyline call to the bullpen means Arroyo exits, and Sam LeCure will jog in from the left center field bullpen. And that means another $25 from Shakely for the Reds Community Fund. Shakely, it's done. Reds now down. Score is 6-1 here in the top of the 5th inning. Bronson Arroyo, 4 2/3. He's out. The new pitcher on the mound for the Reds is Sammy LeCure.
Well, Sam LeCure hopes to pick up and save those 2 runs that are out there on the bags for Bronson Arroyo right now. And that's what Dusty Baker hopes by bringing this guy in. He's been pretty much lights out. Look at the earned run average, very good. The strikeout to walk ratio of 34 strikeouts and 9 walks, or 9 walks overall. That's getting it done for Sam LeCure. And I've said this a couple of times, Jim Kelch, that he has really found a nice spot for him in the major leagues. I'm not so sure if there's a starter, but right now he has been very, very good in exactly where Dusty Baker has him as that long man, that emergency long man in the bullpen.
He didn't have to break back in coming off the DL, did he? He had a couple of very good performances on the road trip. One in Baltimore, one in Tampa Bay. Chris talked about inherited runners. Sam has done a great job this year in that department. Inherited 6, only allowed 1 to score. He needs an out here. He's gotten the first out in 9 of the 11 times he's come into a game. Those are 2 big stats for relievers.
Well, he does 2 things very well, Sam McCure does. Number 1, he throws strikes. Number 2, he changes speeds extremely well. If I want to say one more, number 3, he's not afraid to pitch inside.
Well, he's gotten ahead of Buck, 2 strikes. 7th man to bat in the inning for the Indians. Milwaukee, Minnesota game tonight is right now in a rain delay. Cardinals are leading in the 5th at Tampa Bay 2-0. Pittsburgh leading in the 5th at Washington 1-0. And the Giants helping out these Indians. They lead at Detroit 1-0 in the 5th. Reds start the day 2 out behind that Milwaukee club. It's amazing how tight this National League Central race is. And so when you hear Dusty Baker say, we could just get on a little roll, 10 of 12, 12 of 15, they could take over the top spot. Milwaukee and St. Louis in a dead heat atop. Pittsburgh and the Reds 2 back. Pittsburgh's winning percentage slightly better at this point than the Reds. We begin the 4th month of the regular season here tonight. And the Reds will close out prior to the All-Star break on the road. 7 tough ones, 3 at St. Louis, 4 at Milwaukee. This Indians team will go home. They have, beginning Monday, the Yankees in for 3, then Toronto in for 3. They have the 3-day All-Star break, then go to Baltimore. The Reds will enjoy an extra day, a 4th day at the All-Star break, and begin that Friday after the break here against St. Louis. Sam had Buck 0-2, now a full count. That's going to mean 2 more runs to Rollins right down the line. He couldn't come up with it. This has been a 4-run inning, and it is 8-1.
Boy, the first thing that Rick Manning, the color analyst for the Indians, said when I got to see him before the ball game was, man, oh man, we are having a hard time scoring runs. If you put 3 or 4 runs on the board against us, you're going to blow us out. Well, it's been the exact opposite tonight. Bad report by Rick Manning and bad pitching by the Reds combined with nice hitting by the Indians, hitting the ball the other way. That way Travis Buck lays it right inside the bag between the third base bag and the third baseman to pick up a couple of runs batted in. It looks like he may have hurt himself. Lonnie Soloff, Indians trainer, former Reds assistant trainer, goes out to check on him.
Manny Acta will join them over there. In actuality, Rick Manning telling Chris that they've had a tough time. They are the best hitting team with runners in scoring position in the American League, entering tonight at 271. In fact, they, 2 weeks ago, changed hitting coaches. They fired John Nunley, who had been here a year and a half, and named Bruce Fields, the organization's hitting coordinator, as the interim hitting coach. Buck is going to leave the game. Austin Kearns will take over at first base as a runner for Travis Buck. We get a report on his injury. We'll pass that along.
Well, this is not at all what the Reds had anticipated after taking 2 out of 3 from the Tampa Bay Rays. Coming back here, you have just about a sold-out house at Great American Ballpark, and the Indians come out and they're doing all the ones that are making the noise.
Lonnie Chisenhall, the 8th man to come to the plate in this inning. They scored 1 in the second, 3 in the third. Arroyo was able to retire them in order in the 4th. 4 times they've crossed the plate here in the 5th. And the line complete now on Bronson Arroyo. 8 runs, 9 hits in 4 2/3 with no walks and 2 strikeouts. And another 3 home run balls given up by the veteran right-hander. He gave up 9 runs at Philly on the 23rd of May. This is the 2nd worst one he's had this year in terms of runs allowed. The Sam's had to come in here and throw a lot of pitches to try to get this last out. Chisenhall is twice flied to left. And Chisenhall gets his first hit of the night. Indians will hit around. Everybody will come to the plate.
6 hits in this inning. For the Indians, just one of those nights. Dusty Baker sees his team out there. You know, you look flat. When your pitching doesn't pitch well and you don't hit well, your team looks flat. But you wouldn't think that would be the case after a relatively easy flight back from Tampa. A complete off day yesterday. You come out here ready to play baseball, try to even up the score with the Indians. It took you for 3 in Cleveland. It's gone backwards really from just about the 2nd inning on.
So here's Lou Marson, who has struck out and grounded out. Man on deck is the pitcher Masterson. He started this inning with that 1-4-3 ground out. Tribe have amassed 11 hits now in this game. Last time the Indians won the series against the Reds was 2005 when they went 4-2. They've done no better than a split since then. All they need is one win in this 3-game series to win the series in 2011. That's Austin Kearns. He was the pinch runner. He's leading away at second base. Chisenhall's at first. Here's LeCure, who'd gotten ahead 0-2 to Travis Buck. Now had gotten ahead 0-2 to Marson. And now the count goes full. Well, the runners will be moving. 40 pitches in this inning by Reds pitchers. Almost half of them by LeCure. Will throw his 20th pitch right here. And he got it. So the inning finally ends. But 4 across for the Tribe. And they're in front 8-1 in the middle of the 5th. Up to offer you a great value this season. Check concession stands throughout the ballpark for the Kroger meal deal, which includes a full-size adult hot dog, a bag of chips, 16-ounce Coke, and during this homestand, Ches. It's all for just $7. 8-1 in favor of the Indians. We go to the bottom of the 5th inning, and we are so pleased to have the president of the Dayton Dragons. They are in their 12th year. Mr. Bob Murphy is with us. And Bob, you guys are on the cusp of big things up in Dayton, aren't you?
It's a very exciting time for the entire Dayton region to be looking at setting the all-time sellout streak for professional sports.
You're sitting right now at 8-12. Tonight at home, 8-13. Tomorrow, 8-14 to tie the mark of the Portland Trail Blazers back in '95. And then you got to wait a week. You got a week to prepare, right, to set the record.
That's correct. On the next Saturday, assuming we have no rain this weekend, we're going to be set to go, and we will be breaking that record.
So tell us about, first of all, what kind of activities you have planned for the big night.
Well, we have a lot of fun going on with recognizing the people that have made this whole thing possible. So we're looking at recognizing community leaders. We're looking at recognizing the Reds. We're looking at fans. We're going to have a real nice ceremony to start the game. We've got a lot of other pomp and circumstance that's going to be fun. We've got a commemorative poster that's never been released of Fifth Third Field showing what this crowd is like when that stadium is packed. So it's going to be a real nice evening.
Stubbs leading it off, and Chisenhall will throw him out. Speaking of Stubbs, there's a lot of guys on this Reds team that came through Dayton, aren't there?
Yes, there are. I think that we now have 49 of our former players that are in the show now. A great number of them are playing right here in Cincinnati.
Well, you've got 6 of them actually on the Reds roster right now. You just saw one in Drew Stubbs. You've also got Jay Bruce and Joey Votto, Homer Bailey, who will pitch tomorrow, Logan Ondrusic out in the bullpen, and the ace of the staff now, Johnny Cueto, also went through Dayton.
It's been great to see these guys make it to the show, and our fans in Dayton have really connected with them, and they are now all gravitating to Cincinnati. They're listening on WLW, they're watching Fox Sports, they're having a great time following their guys as they made it to Cincinnati.
Oh, I got to ask you a question. I'm sorry, Jim.
Sure.
Yeah, this is something that's always befuddled me. You have an attendance capacity up there of about 8,375. Is that right? Something like that.
That's our average attendance.
Okay. But you are actually bringing in 116% of capacity. How do you do that?
Well, we have 7,200 theater-style seats.
Okay.
And then we have this great area for lawn seats, which is perfect for families. They come out on a summer night, they spread their blankets out. It's just a great, great evening for them. That's where we get the excess capacity.
And from day one, you guys have marketed this team that it's not just baseball, but it's a fun night out. And that has really worked not only in Dayton, but at all the properties that you guys run, isn't it?
Yes. We really want to make sure that when fans are coming out, they are enjoying the game of baseball, but there's also entertainment for everyone. It's terrific. You can sit down, you can listen to Glenn Miller on the sound system, and then you can hear Miley Cyrus. And we have fun for everything and for everyone because of a completely scripted night, well executed by our game day crew. It's just a real fun evening.
Well, we appreciate your coming by. Congratulations, Bob, to you, the entire organization, for what you're doing up there in Dayton.
Thank you, gentlemen. And the Reds have been just fantastic partners with everything that we're doing.
Thank you, Bob.
Bob Murphy of the Dayton Dragons. To the ballpark here, GABP coming up Saturday, 2 weeks from tomorrow. That's July the 16th. Reds take on the St. Louis Cardinals. Be one of the first 30,000 through the gate. Take home an Aroldis Chapman action figure thanks to Chiquita. For tickets to see the Reds and the Cardinals, call 513-381-REDS or visit Reds.com. Aroldis Chapman appeared a couple of times in Baltimore, did not appear at all in the Tampa Bay series, so when he appears here, Fans will see him at home for the first time since early May, 2 months ago. This game has been all Tribe. They lead 8-1 as we play into the 6th inning. Masterson, who led off the 5th, leads off the 6th. Was able to get Marson to end the 5th, and he does the same here with Masterson to start the 6th. Back to our AT&T trivia question: what 3 players have been named Ohio Cup MVPs? Adam Dunn, Ramon Hernandez, and Sin-Soo Choo, who's currently on the Indians disabled list with a broken left thumb. Ramon, of course, still with the team. Dunn now in the American League with the White Sox. Reds won the series in 08, 5-1 when Dunn was the MVP. Won it 4-2 in 09 when Hernandez was the MVP. And last year, despite winning 4 games out of 6 for the Reds, Sin-Soo Choo was named the MVP. Asdrubal Cabrera was 6 for 12 in the series over in Cleveland, 1 for 3 with a 2-run homer tonight. Michael Brantley was 5 for 12 over in Cleveland, 1 for 3 tonight. Who will be the MVP this year? Phillips throws out Brantley, and there are 2 out. Sun setting here at Great American Ballpark. Beautiful day in the Cincinnati area. Turning into a spectacular night. Not on the field if you're a Reds fan, but certainly weather-wise. It'll stay that way tomorrow and Sunday as Orlando Cabrera comes up there. Last year, 263 with the Reds, with 4 homers and 42 runs batted in. He's played with Montreal. He's played with Boston. He's played with the Angels. He's played with the White Sox, Oakland, Minnesota, the Reds, and now the Indians, marking his 8th organization in a big league career that began in 1997 and a professional career that began in the Dominican Summer League back in 1993. Of course, he was the starting shortstop for that 04 Boston team. Ended that long drought of non-World Series titles in Boston. What, 76 years? 86 years without a World Championship. He was part of that team, as was the man who was on the mound against him tonight, Bronson Arroyo. As with the fellow we saw down in Tampa Bay earlier this week, Johnny Damon. Cabrera has played on 4 consecutive playoff teams.
Yeah, that's the thing that a lot of people who are watching Cabrera towards the end of his career are calling it the Orlando Cabrera effect. Is it coincidence, or is it something more than that? You have to ask yourself. It seems like everywhere he goes, his ball club wins. It happened to the Reds. He was here with the Reds 1 year, and they win their first division title in 15 years. He was with the Boston Red Sox 1 year. What happened to them in 2004?
Well, we mentioned 4 in a row, but 6 of the last 7 years he's been in the playoffs with his team, starting with that Boston year in 04. Only one of them went to the World Series. That was the Red Sox. Angels went to the ALCS the following year in 05 when he was their shortstop. Missed 06, back in 07 with the Angels. White Sox in 08, Twins in 09, Reds last year, and Indians right in the thick of things, of course, this year.
His father was a scout, longtime scout. In fact, his father signed originally Edgar Renteria.
Stubbs is not going to get there, and that's a second hit tonight for Orlando Cabrera, and a dozen of them for the Tribe.
You don't have to hit it hard, you have to hit it where they ain't. And Cabrera does it that time, just kind of a little bit of a flare out on the end of the bat, falls right beyond the reach of the shortstop Renteria. That's the kind of night it has been for the Cleveland Indians. Of course, Renteria and Orlando Cabrera both from the country of Colombia. Cartagena, Colombia, the hometown of Orlando Cabrera, and Edgar Renteria is from Barranquilla. In fact, the list of players from Colombia that are currently in the major leagues is a rather short one. We've already told you about Cabrera and Edgar Renteria. Ernesto Frieri from the San Diego Padres and Julio Teheran from Atlanta are the only other two that are currently active in the major leagues who hail from Colombia.
Of course, his brother Holbert played here a couple of years ago. Was a utility player, infield, outfield. Dribble down on strikes. One hit for the Tribe in this inning. They stranded 4 in the game. It's time for the Coors Light Freeze Cam. Battle for the Ohio Cup raging here at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. Those Indians players all looking up. They've hit 3 home run balls. Reds have hit 1 from Brandon. He's 2 for 2. Not a good night for Bronson Arroyo. A Coors Light Freeze Cam brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. Brandon Phillips will be up 3rd in this inning. He'll be gunning for his 1,000th career hit. Came into this game with 997 as a single and a home run thus far. Miguel Cairo pinch hits for Sam LeCure, so the Reds will employ a new pitcher come the 7th inning. Olish Chapman, who we talked about earlier, now throwing in the bullpen. Down in Tampa, we talked about the guys that had played down there. Certainly Johnny Gomes greeted very warmly down there. Had a chance to visit with Billy Hatcher, who was an 8-year coach for that Tampa club. And I talked with Cairo in the clubhouse about his time down there. He never did get into a game down there.
And it's kind of ironic and maybe odd in a way, because while Miguel Cairo was down there as a member of the Rays, that was the only time in his career, 15-year career, that he was used as an everyday player. And here he goes back to Tampa, doesn't even get in the game.
Well, he walks here to start the bottom of the 6th inning. The first walk issued by Justin Masterson tonight. That figured to be, we thought, a decent part of this series. The Indians pitching staff comes in having allowed the second fewest walks, or given up the second fewest walks in the American League against a Reds team that has been given the 3rd most walks in the National League. But it's been the long ball and the pitching of Masterson that's been the story here tonight.
Well, he has spent so much time in the dugout over the last couple of innings, he's probably rusty.
Cooled down for certain. Lewis is 1 for 2. 6-4-3 and a double play. The second turn by the Tribe tonight.
This one looks like it has a chance of going up the middle, but a double play depth. As Drupal Cabrera, we've seen that type of play many times from him. Backhanded, barehanded the second baseman. That is a nifty 6-4-3 turn. In the American League, those pitchers that throw the most ground balls as far as percentage go, and look at who they are. They're 2 from Oakland, Cahill and Anderson, and then Carmona, who will pitch tomorrow, and Justin Masterson. Very interesting.
That Oakland team is a puzzle, aren't they? They have the best pitching ERA-wise in baseball, but a team that's just not getting it done on the field in terms of wins. Here's Phillips sitting at 999 career hits after the single in the first and the home run in the 4th inning. Of course, he used to play for the Indians. 89 hits while wearing the Tribe uniform and 910 while wearing a Reds uniform. The stats supplied to us by our stat man extraordinaire, Joel Luckup. He even supplies us stats on the road. He's not even working. Board in this game for the Reds. Off the bat of Phillips, a home run in the 4th inning, is 7th of the year. Reds hit 10 home runs on the recent trip. Averaged over 5 runs a game, went 3-3, and we're in every game at this juncture in the 6th inning. Not in this game, trailing 8-1, but time remains for Dusty's club. Hit for number 1,000 ends on that line drive into right. And the Reds 3 batters and out thanks to the double play. AT&T by Cincinnati Children's, which ranks 3rd in the nation on U.S. News and World Report's honor roll for Best Children's Hospitals 2011. And by your Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky Honda dealers. Visit mycincinnatihondadealer.com for current offers. Reds fans, make your Friday night better. Go to foxsportsohio.com and enter the Papa's in Your House contest. You could win a Fox Sports Ohio prize pack, and one grand prize winner will win a pizza party. The Papa's in Your House contest is presented by Papa John's. All Tribe tonight. They about hit the Red 12-4, outscored them 8-1. New man on the mound. That'll bring this crowd to life somewhat. Hard-throwing lefty Aroldis Chapman.
Well, that's the understatement maybe of the night right there. Would say hard-throwing lefty when they bring this guy into a ball game. The only question for Chapman is this: whether the ball is going to go over the strike zone or not. And it has recently, since he has come back off the disabled list, when he was able to get regular work down in the minor leagues on that rehab stint that lasted a month. He was able to find the strike zone with just about everything he threw. So hopefully that will continue. I know Dusty Baker is really going to make an effort to try to get him in regularly, because he does not seem like at this juncture in his career the kind of pitcher that can sit 5 or 6 days and then be able to throw strikes when he comes out of the bullpen.
Carlos Santana first up against him. Chapman appeared twice on the road trip, both in Baltimore. Struck out the side on the game on the 25th. And then on the 26th came in, struck out the first 2, then gave up his first ever big league home run to Luke Scott, a left-hander of all people. Chapman last worked here at home on the 15th of May. That was against St. Louis, when he gave up 4 runs, 4 hits in 1/3 of an inning. That was the last outing he made, and the 4th of 4 in a row in which he simply could not find the strike zone. And finally he went on the disabled list, and then ultimately down to Louisville and then to Carolina. What turned out to be a 9-game rehab assignment. Renteria records the first out on that ground ball, so it'll be Grady Sizemore to the plate. Sizemore, three-time All-Star, last in 2008. A career .272 hitter, but clearly the face of this franchise late in the years 2000. Played in all 162 games in back-to-back years, 06, 07. Hit with power, stole some bases. Exciting player to watch, but only 33 games last year due to that microfracture surgery on his right knee that Chris talked about, or his right knee that Chris talked about, and then he injured his left knee earlier this year. I'm saying that right. His left knee had the microfracture, the right knee had the deep bone bruise earlier this year. Sizemore, part of that deal between Montreal and Cleveland that included Cliff Lee and Brandon Phillips. And that big slugging first baseman, remember Lee Stevens.
You talk about maybe the worst deal other than Milt Pappas for Frank Robinson. That was a bad one. But it turned out ultimately good for the Reds. But that was Omar Minaya, who was installed as the general manager of the Montreal Expos by Major League Baseball, was trying to get that team to win and wanted to make his name as an up-and-coming general manager in the game, and made that trade for Bartolo Colon. He needed Colon in the Montreal Expo pitching staff, and he gave away the players that you just named. Lee Stevens, who was a big league pitcher, first baseman, but Cliff Lee, Grady Sizemore, and Brandon Phillips. All all-star players. In
terms of Cliff Lee, he's been the guy pitching-wise for the last, couple of years now.
Yeah, you know what, and I don't think that anybody who ever saw Cliff Lee even pitch for the Cleveland Indians would ever think that he would be the guy, but he certainly has evolved into that.
Yeah, the year before he won the 21 games, he was an under 500 pitcher for them.
At one time, a lot of people would say Grady Sizemore was one of the best center fielders in the game, and there are some people right now who would say that Brandon Phillips is the best second baseman in the game. And you get all of those players for one pitcher in return. Of course, then the Indians kind of befuddled the whole thing a few years later by sending Brandon Phillips to the Reds for a player to be named later.
Former Red Kearns is going to be retired, and so are the Tribe. For the first time since the fourth, and the third time in this game. Nicely done, Aroldis Chapman. $48 ticket deal. That's this Saturday and Sunday when the Reds battle the Indians for the Ohio Cup. Buy 4 view-level tickets to either of the 2 games for just $48 and get 4 free Reds visors. To be part of the action-packed weekend, visit Reds.com/4 for $48. Purchase your tickets to see the Reds take on the Tribe. Bottom of the 7th, Joey Votto to lead it off. He's 0 for 2. Him in 4th in the league in hitting at .319. Come for the Reds, stay for more fun, enter to win a Cincinnati USA getaway package. Visit www.cincinnatiusa.com/Fox Sports.
Interesting to have Bob Murphy, the CEO of the Dayton Dragons, here, just to think what Joey Votto, who played for the Dragons back when he was 19 years old. A strikeout there, but he hit, believe it or not, .231 in his first year with the Dragons. Came back as a 20-year-old and hit over .300 that year and ended up getting his batting average up to .302. 14 home runs. That time could not catch up with a high fastball from Masterson.
Of course, the Dragons, they're in the Midwest League. That's a Class A league, and that in the hierarchy of things is called Low A. The Reds' High A team this year is in Bakersfield. Then it goes to AA Carolina and AAA Louisville. So really, those guys, when they're at Dayton, are really, that's their first full experience of a full season of professional baseball.
Yeah, a lot of times they'll have a what they call a summer A team, and of course, the Reds will have that down in the Arizona League. They've got a summer A team. Sometimes it's extended spring, and then they start their season around the beginning of June, and they'll end in September. So those players that are drafted oftentimes will go there, and since they've already played, 70 or 80 games with their college, or even sometimes their high school teams, they'll play a lot of games. They'll end up not playing an entire pro season the first year. Very common to see that. As a player, you only want to spend one of those years in a short A season.
Those short season teams, that Arizona League team that Chris is talking about, they've been playing for a week and a half now. They're 4-5. The Pioneer League team, which is a short season rookie league club out in Billings. Well, they've had that Billings team the Reds have forever managed by Pat Kelly. They're off to a 6-5 start. The Dayton team this year, 35-35 through the first half of what is a split season. Nice play there by Lonnie Chisenhall. First chance we've really had a chance to see him perform defensively tonight.
Well, Scott Rowland gave him a chance his last time up. It was a very routine play. He's had one other ground ball where he threw out Drew Stubbs, but here he's got to make kind of a running throw and a little short throw to first base, coming off throwing on his right leg. Fields on his left leg, throws on his right. Nice little quick release right there from Chisenhall.
Here's Bruce, who's 0 for 2. He had a 4-strikeout night on Wednesday down in Tampa and ended up on the road trip. Only 4 hits in 22 at-bats. He couldn't wait to see June go away quick enough. After that tremendous May, hit only .217 in the month of June. Now Orlando Cabrera is going to throw him out here. So the Reds go down in order for the 3rd time in this game and threw 7 on the short end of an 8-1 score. of the night. It occurred in the 4th inning for the Reds. Brandon Phillips against Justin Masterson. The first home run given up by Masterson this year to a right-handed hitter comes from Phillips. 7th of the year. Our Coors cold hard blast of the night. And the 999th career hit for one Brandon Phillips. Meanwhile, new pitcher is on for the Reds. This is Jose Arredondo. Makes his 22nd appearance without a win this year. ERA of right around 3.5. He becomes the 4th pitcher used by the Reds. For Aroldis Chapman, a perfect 7th inning. Sam LeCure went 1 1/3. Arredondo in there now. Chisenhall strikes out, so the first batter faced by Jose Arredondo, a strikeout victim. Lou Marson will be up now, and then you take a look in the on-deck circle and see if indeed it will be Masterson, who's thrown only 85 pitches in this game.
I saw a cut at the very end of that pitch by Jose Arredondo. You know, he throws a fastball that has a little cut on it. It's got kind of a short stride for a guy that is his height. But that short stride enables him to get his hand up and you really use that split finger fastball and pull that thing straight down, thereby kind of creating a tumbling motion where that ball really dives when he gets it down around the knees. That is his main pitch.
Marson 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts. Safe to say that one got away.
Yes, it did.
Charlie Sheen-like in Major League right there.
Just a little bit high. After seeing a couple of those wild pitches, one over the catcher's head that goes to the screen, one bounces at about 55 feet. I'm not so sure that the guy in the on-deck circle, Justin Masterson, is in that big of a hurry to get into the batter's box.
Masterson's allowed just the 1 run on the homer and 4 hits, and he will bat for himself, go back out there in the 8th inning. Speaking of pitching, Travis Wood pitched tonight for the Louisville club.
How'd he do?
2 runs, 4 hits, 7 innings in a win. Louisville won 4-2 over the Gwinnett Braves. Todd Frazier hit his 15th home run. Juan Francisco his 10th home run. Congratulations to Rick Sweet's team tonight, a winner. Marson follows suit with Chisenhall. He strikes out. Masterson on his first hit. Bats for himself here. Nicely done by Arredondo. 1-2-3 in the 8th. Reds come up with another crack against Masterson in the bottom half. Game. Red Lewis hit it as Drupal Cabrera, Orlando Cabrera, and over to first base, Carlos Santana. It's your everyday 6-4-3 twin killing right there. Who knows? Maybe the starting shortstop for the American League started that one. John Merrill hot dog play of the night.
Well, the guy that has played like an all-star tonight against the Reds has been on the mound, and he has completely throttled this Reds offense. Aside from that home run by Brandon Phillips on really the only mistake pitch that Justin Masterson made, I'm not even so sure that it was all that much of a mistake. It looked like it was in off the plate. A fastball back to lead off the 4th inning. Reds looked like they were going to climb back into the ball game. They were down by 3 after that home run, but Masterson has been masterful and efficient. He has not thrown more than 18 pitches in any one inning, and he's had a couple of frames out there where he's had single digits as far as the number of pitches thrown. So despite the fact that the Reds are down by 7, they're still not all that patient at the plate. And when they do swing, he's missed the sweet part.
They get those 2 singles to get the game going by Lewis and Phillips, and you're thinking, well, all right, they're going to get things rolling tonight, but it hasn't worked out. Masterson, of course, has not won a game since he defeated Kansas City in Cleveland on the 26th of April. 6 losses, 5 no decisions since that time. 1 complete game this year. That was a 1-0 loss against the White Sox in Chicago on the 18th of May, game in which he threw 115 pitches. This marks the 5th time that he's gone into the 4th time that he's gone into the 8th inning this year. Hits Stubbs in the bottom of the 8th to get this one started. Renteria sitting at 899 career RBIs. RBI chance with a runner aboard. He is struck out and grounded out. Stubbs is going, and now he'll have to retreat. Batter will be Hannigan. Kick off your weekend here at Great American Ballpark on Friday, July the 15th, when the Reds take on the St. Louis Cardinals. Stick around for a post-game super duper fireworks show featuring a soundtrack inspired by your favorite superheroes, courtesy of Furniture Fair. For tickets to this superheroes weekend, call 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com today. Tonight, Reds white and blue fireworks show. Big boomer after the game tonight. Sellout crowd of over 40,000 Great American Ballpark on this Friday evening, the 1st of July. 40,440. We've seen a lot of offense, but from the visitors, the Tribe. They've hit 3 out. The Reds have had to settle for the 1 Brandon Phillips home run in terms of touching the plate. Hannigan 0 for 2. He had a big home run on Wednesday against the Rays down there at Tropicana Field. Big 3-run shot. Stubbs going again. And we're going to have batter's interference called against Hannigan. Stubbs is told to go back. Interference on the catcher by Hannigan, so Stubbs is forced to go back.
Well, the judgment of the umpire, Hannigan has to get out of the batter's box. And, he hit him with the bat is what he ended up doing on the follow through right there, and that's immediately the call.
Which you can't avoid if the catcher's getting up, coming up to throw. How do you avoid that?
You don't follow through as much. You hit a guy with a bat, whether you're standing in the batter's box or not, he's not fair game. This isn't hurling. You've been to a hurling match?
Safe to say no.
Okay.
You?
Yeah.
Where?
In Ireland.
And?
They use something that looks like a bat, but it's got a little piece of metal at the very end of it. It seems like, certainly don't know the rules, but it seems like if you've got another one in your hand, you're fair game. But not like that with...
Not here.
No.
They're not holding Stubbs, so he's been running on every pitch. He does advance to second on that ground out by Hannigan.
Herbie's in the house. There's Kirk Herbstreit and his family.
One of the biggest Reds fans of all time right there.
Yeah, he's got 4 young boys and a wife Allison here tonight. Sitting right down there in the diamond seats.
Former Ohio State quarterback.
Hope he didn't have to sell any memorabilia to get those seats. Come on, I can't let that go, can I? My apologies to all the Ohio State fans. I know there's a million of you out there. Just having a little fun.
They're hating on you right now, too. Johnny Gomes is going to bat for Arredondo here in the bottom of the 8th.
Hey, I'm a Buckeye fan.
Not as much as your partner most of the time here in this booth.
Had a couple of sisters that went to school there, one in grad school there, one undergraduate work there. I just don't happen to have as many sweater vests in my closet as does my good buddy Tom Brenneman.
He'll be here tomorrow in this seat with Mark Grace, whom we had on earlier. Masters are now at 94 in terms of pitch count. Earlier, Travis Buck left the game. The injury from the clubhouse reported as a left hamstring tightness. Left hamstring tightness for Travis Buck. Gomes at .225 on the year with 11 homers and 31 runs batted in, but 0 for 11 as a pinch hitter. Reds haven't had a hit since the Phillips homer. Only 2 base runners. A walk to Cairo as a pinch hitter in the 6th, and Stubbs, who was hit by a pitch to start this inning, who's now out at second. Inning comes to an end. That is strikeout number 5 for Masterson. We head to the 9th. Nissan drives, plural, of the game. First this one by Asdrubal Cabrera. 2-run shot. Carlos Santana followed up with a bullpen shot. That was their 3-run third. They led 4-0 after that. Those are our Nissan drives of the game. They haven't needed any more than that, although they did pick up 4 in the 5th inning. Lead this one 8-1. Go to the 9th inning, new pitcher on. This will be the 5th of the night for the Reds. It's Nick Massett.
Well, if nothing else, it's a good time for Dusty Baker to go into the bullpen and get his pitchers out there to get a little tune-up work. In a blowout ball game, I'm just trying to find the silver lining here in an 8-1 ball game.
And has your search come up with anything?
That's about it right now.
Michael Brantley for starters here in the 9th inning. Massett had his best month of the year. The month just passed, June. 2.38 ERA in 11 games with a win. At a 2.93 in May and topped that with a 2.38 in June. Seems like this year the same thing happened to him that did last year. He had a bad first month. And then he's battling all year to try to get that ERA down into the respectable area. He was over 4.40 for an ERA in April of this year. Afternoon game here tomorrow on Fox Network television, and then Chris and I will be back at it here Sunday for the 110 wrap-up of the series and of interleague play. Mike Leake against Mitch Talbot. Fun to watch Leak pitch again. Boy, he was sharp his last time out. 6 innings of shutout ball down in Tampa. He and Johnny Cueto, boy, they both pitched extremely well down there in the dome. Stubbs runs this down for the first out of the 9th. Brantley is now 1 out of 5. Hitting the road, take the Reds with you this season. Subscribe to MLB.tv today to see every Reds game live or on demand on your computer and your favorite devices. Visit Reds.com to order and get more details. MLB.tv, baseball everywhere. Orlando Cabrera, 2 out of 4. Hitting the 5th means he now has a 5-game hitting streak. Indians looking to go 6 games above the 500 mark. We'll check in on that Detroit game to see how they are doing. They lead the Indians by a half. Manny Actis Club, who's been in first place more than any other team in their division this year, trying to get back there. They can win, and the Tigers lose tonight. Tigers are down 1-0 in the 8th against Madison Bumgarner and the Giants. Pittsburgh and the Nationals are tied 1-1 in the 9th inning of their game in Washington. They're just ahead of the Reds by a percentage point in the standings. Both teams 2 games out. The Cardinals and Milwaukee tied for the top spot right now. Cardinals are leading 5-3 at Tampa. Milwaukee playing at Minnesota. Herrera pops up here for the 2nd out. Well, silver lining, Chris, bullpen has done a pretty good job.
Yeah, they have. It was a little bit of a tough out that Sam LeCure had to try to come in and get in the 5th inning to bail out Bronson Royal. Just a couple of guys on base, and I'll tell you what, Travis Buck really gave him a good battle back there, and he eventually hit a base hit double down the left field line to score a couple of runs. But other than that, the bullpen has been, as usual, lights out. They've been outstanding pretty much from the beginning of the year to right now, but they need some runs.
Well, Massett has a 1-2-3 frame, and so Chapman or Arredondo and Massett do that. Reds coming up in the bottom of the 9th. Doing more on defense, play of the game, and we turn to who else? Brandon Phillips on this ball hit by Masterson in the 5th. Deflected off the glove of Arroyo. Bronson cleaned up. Home Depot doing more on defense, play of the game. Remember, after every Reds game, stay with us right here in Fox Sports Ohio for Reds Live postgame. Hear from Dusty, get all the highlights, and all the talk about the game. Wrapping it up down below with the Reds Live postgame. It's brought to you by King's Honda and the King's Auto Mall. Visit kingshondausa.com. CLEATCIN.com. New first baseman is Joel Hanrahan. Pardon me, Jack Hanrahan. And a new pitcher, Chad Durbin, takes over to close things out for the Tribe.
Durbin, 29 games with a high earned run average. Former Philadelphia Philly will pitch to the top of the Reds order.
Eight innings of great work tonight for Masterson. As on the first pitch, Lewis pops up for out number one.
You get that? Do you understand that at all?
I do not. I do not.
I mean, Masterson pitched a great game. There's no question about that. But when you go up in the last few innings of a ball game and you're down by 7 runs and you're up there hacking at the first pitch. And I know a lot of guys don't like to wait. And this isn't not an indictment at all of Fred Lewis. But maybe just an overall approach. When you're down by 7, I've always been taught, go ahead and take a pitch. Make them work a little bit.
Yeah.
You just never know, because it's very unlikely that you're going to hit your way back into 7 runs. You're going to need some cooperation from the pitcher. A walk, maybe an error, a hit batter. All of a sudden you build a little momentum. But when you go up there and hack up the first pitch in the 9th inning, 7 runs down, and you pop it up weakly to the third baseman, it's almost sending the message that, well, we'll get you tomorrow.
Phillips with another opportunity for that 1,000th career hit. 2 for 3 tonight. Hit the ball hard all 3 times. Great line for Justin Masterson tonight. 1 run, 4 hits, 8 innings, a walk, and 5 strikeouts.
He's been pretty much doing that on and off all year long. He has been outstanding. Masterson has.
Last time out, he allowed 1 unearned run in 6 2/3 in a 1-0 loss at San Francisco.
That was a game that the Indians ended up losing on a balk, a walk-off balk.
I remember seeing that highlight.
Of course, they got the bases loaded, if I'm not mistaken, in that ball game. The Giants did, with a couple of errors. So that had nothing to do with Masterson.
Well, again, he hasn't won since he won his 5th back on April the 26th. First 5 starts, all wins. No W's since that time.
Well, he's looking pretty good tonight.
Cardinals won 5-3 tonight. Milwaukee still enduring a rain delay up in Minnesota. Those 2 teams tied for the top spot in the National League Central. Reds along with Pittsburgh started 2 out. Detroit has tied the game with the Giants 1-1 in the 8th inning. Like the Indians here are chasing those Tigers out by a half game. Jake Westbrook his 7th win in that Cardinal victory. A new ballpark up there in Minnesota, Target Field. Outside now, no roof, no retractable dome. Wouldn't be having that issue up there had they had the Metrodome still in use. Of all the places you would think that would have a retractable dome, you'd think that Minnesota certainly would be one.
You'd almost think the Major League Baseball would demand it.
Yes. Postseasons, if they get in, it could be a wee bit nippy up there. Hanahan can't get it. Blast by Phillips. Is this number 1,000? It is, and he does it with a home run. A multi-home run game for Brandon Phillips. Something for the fans to cheer about. Reds just had a 3-home run game from Chris Heisey. It's their 7th multi-home run game of the year. First by Phillips. His 7th of his career. He had one last year at San Francisco. Gets one here tonight against the Indians.
Well, Brandon is on some kind of a run right now. This was a terrific at-bat he has against Chad Durbin. The 11th pitch in the at-bat, our Exmo look at it. He gets his foot down, keeps his head down, and boy, that baby comes right off the sweet spot of that timber. He has accounted for all of the Reds' offense tonight.
Votto gives Grady Sizemore an opportunity, and so the Reds are down to their last crack.
How about looking at that home run one more time?
So no home runs for Phillips in, what, 6 weeks, and now 3 in the last 6 days.
Need to get him up 6 more times.
You do that in spring training. Extended spring.
Yes.
Rolling 1 for 3. His one hit gives him 1,997. So he's 3 away from 2,000 hits in his career. But this is going to end it right here. Sizemore has it. Reds get 1, but they lose by the final of 8-2 to the Cleveland Indians tonight. And this was a Justin Masterson kind of night, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was. We didn't expect him to come out and dominate this team the way he did. He certainly has great stuff, throwing the ball 95, 96 miles an hour with plenty of movement on it. He neutralized his right-handers, but he took care of the lefties in the Reds lineup again tonight. They couldn't get it going at all, and the Indians, meanwhile, jumped all over Bronson Arroyo, who has now given up 7 home runs in his last 2 starts. Maybe he'll be able to turn that around, and the Reds will be able to turn it around tomorrow. But we'll have more to talk about right here, right?
Yes, indeed. Masterson gets the win, his 6th. Bronson Arroyo suffers the loss, his 7th. Indians win it 8-2. And let's go down and check in with Jim Day about Reds Live postgame.